Hey everybody, Speedy here of Banu Studio Inc. Back to do my weekly vlog on the studio Saga series. We're on Saga 10 weeks in a row. Things are going really well. We had a really great week. I'm physically struggling a little bit because of the medical thing. On August 24th, I'll have my appointment with my rheumatologist to see how bad the problem is. I'm hoping for the best. I'm functioning like it'll be a minor thing, like a broken toe or something like that. We'll see. I keep pushing through. I do my studio work and then I do my job. I'm struggling a little bit with that because I have to walk around a lot more than I'd like to. When I'm in the studio, I don't do that much walking. Decided to finally mix it up some and put some behind the scenes footage of things and projects I'm working on. And what you can see here in this clip is me filming the close-ups of repairing those studio glasses I mentioned in Saga 9, where, yeah, I broke my studio glasses and how I get attached to things and how I had used tape to temporarily fix the problem a la Revenge of the Nerds. And, well, my experience using tape in a really hot environment, the tape wasn't a good solution. And I can say this much. I'll share the footage that I filmed with my camera in this in its own little short. Probably put it out Sunday of me finishing repairing the glasses and putting the little skulls and doing those kind of cool things to them. Because yeah, I gotta do a creative thing with it. I couldn't just do a normal repair. It's just the way I'm wired, you know. Um, but yeah, um, wrapped up the Wolverine montage, like drafting of it and getting it ready for its final. Um, got a lot of the material I needed. You saw me bring some of that in this footage for set building for one of my stop motion characters for a stop motion story I'm doing. Made a lot of progress on Bunny V, which you can't see any of that because that's just me sitting at the computer. She's purely digital. I work in a lot of different mediums, and in this footage here, it's just me kind of working around with my tools in the studio, repairing my glasses, working with my new camera setup, um, trying to get it figured out. Uh, I do a time management journal where I track every minute of my time that I use on individual projects and on overall studio work. And then on top of that, I work a 40-hour a week regular job to be able to make all of this possible. But yeah, this has just been a tremendous week. For the last couple of weeks, I've only been able to focus on one series, and it was never my intention to only do the drafting table series. I have an execution series coming up, which features a lot of unusual creative components in it. I developed a character, Bunny V, who's supposed to be my spokesperson, and naturally she grew into so much more. Now my spokesperson for the studio, she has a backstory that I've been animating so that I can share on Wednesdays. When it's ready, I will premiere it. I will give a heads up about that. I have another series called Garden and Grail, which is a little bit more of the alchemical side of me and where I draw inspiration from, and me just kind of generally doing some stuff in the studio. That premieres on Monday, and I'm in the process of editing that. So that part's going really well. I believe by August, when I'm doing my vlog in August, I'll be talking about multiple series that I have running full time on the channel. I'm really excited about that. So I've made a tremendous amount of progress. It's kind of a truth people don't often speak about, but something I've definitely experienced is sometimes when it looks like your dream is impossible, or that many outside crises and challenges come along that may destroy your dream, or put your goals completely on hold. If you really truly deeply want them in your soul, you'll fight through every crisis and every challenge that comes at you and keep going. And it's at least been my experience, the more challenges that I've faced, especially here recently. I've spent since May facing this medical challenge, facing a work challenge to be able to keep financing the studio because of not being able to work for 3 weeks, and then working with an injury and trying to push through that injury until I can, get to the doctor and get it resolved. And, there's a lot of anxiety about, well, what if there's a worst case scenario, I guess, that the resolution could be, oh, we've got to have surgery, and that's more time that could get in the way of me accomplishing my studio goals. I mean, but the reality is when this crisis hit me, it pushed me even harder than way things were going before. I felt like I had time. I do my job, and then during weekdays when I'm working my job, I can only get about 2 or 3 hours of studio time in. But I'm so focused on this that even during my lunch breaks at work, I'm working on it. I tend to do all my administrative bookkeeping and those kind of things, script writing, stuff like that, during that hour lunch break I get at my vocation, so that every moment I'm down in the studio, I can be doing things proactive and productive towards going beyond just a script or a sketch or an idea and actually putting them into motion. My execution series, which will be coming out next week, I believe next week's the end of July. For the last week of July, I plan on actually putting For the Love of Execution out. And it will be me doing a watercolor painting of the Wolverine montage, but that's not the only thing that's in the execution series, so there'll be a lot more to it than just simply me doing the final artwork. I have some components that I've planned for it that I've been developing behind the scenes. What you have here in this footage is actually me deciding that, instead of doing the whole talking head thing, which I usually do on the vlog, which I don't really like those that much, I just do those when I don't have any footage of me actually working or doing stuff in the studio. A lot of what I've been doing over the last, I guess, 2 months has been digital and not really very interesting to look at, and not me actually using the studio itself. This is a case where I'm in a position where I'm finally starting to put studio to use, and I thought, well, it's just use the behind the scenes footage of me actually using the studio and putting the studio to task, instead of having my talking head in the vlog. I'm a lot happier when I do it that way, and I think that it shows progress, shows what I'm accomplishing, and I'm moving into my stop motion, and that one is very physical oriented. I have costumes to design, furniture to build, sets to build, and so I should, for the next, at least for the rest of July in the Saga videos, I should be using behind the scenes footage of me using the studio while I share updates and progress. But yes, Monday Garden and Grail comes out, and it's got a peculiar format, and it's a bit more around town and a more me and my other environments, the environments that help like recharge me. It's a much more alchemically focused series, so it focuses on the mental side. And I placed it on Monday because it's really a compilation of what I do over the weekend, to kind of recharge myself mentally and physically, and what helps me keep going towards my goals and my dreams. And for me, it shows how I'm inspired and what inspires me, and where I go to kind of get visual stimulation, if you will, that helps keep me grounded. So there's a little bit more of me going out in nature. I do believe in Garden and Grail. You'll see me visit a lot of different gardens because that does help me. You'll also be seeing things like the first episode is rescuing a feral kitten and turning it into the studio cat. That's going to be what the first Garden and Grail covers, but it's not the entirety of it. There's some other things in it and I'm kind of excited about it. The first one's going to feature some stuff from what I did on my birthday, what I did for myself on my birthday, cool things like that, and how I inspire myself even when I can't go out. I have things inside of my studio, like my library, like, those kind of things that help also inspire me. And I'm one of those people who can just enjoy a good night sky when the sky is beautiful while the sun is setting. It inspires me too. And so Garden and Grail covers a lot of those kind of things, the simplistic things that I enjoy. I'm not a very materialistic person. I'd rather not have to have it at all, to be honest, but you got to. We all live in the Heilig world, even if it's not an enjoyable place. Sometimes I refer to it as samsara. We don't have to worry about going to hell, we're already there. And the objective is to climb out of it. It does feel that way sometimes. Um, I mean, if you think about it, none of us created the world we were born in. We were just born into a world that's got these arbitrary social rules and arbitrary things of the Heilig that are required to survive the Heilig realm. Because there's a lot of people that's their whole world. There's nothing else. They're not. They're not mentally doing anything else but focus on the material, just chasing their neighbors. I've got better this than that person, and just pointless things I'm not interested in. And so that's why I kind of refer to like the material living world as like samsara, because I can't imagine being obsessed with having the latest, greatest, and chasing trends. I can't see value in it, but the majority of the people around me are very much like that. And so I feel sometimes like an anomaly. I'm still looking up to the horizon. I'm still seeking higher ground, and I'm trying to keep myself going north. That's an alchemical term, but yeah, I'm trying to stay in my north node as much as possible. Keep my eye focused on like the things that bring me passion, and the latest designer this and the latest trend and the latest song and all that stuff doesn't. I don't care. If it sounds good, yeah. If it's fun, if it stimulates my mind, yeah, I'm all about it. But I'm not one of those. It's like, oh, I got to make sure I have a certain image and I have to be whatever than the other. I'm not interested in comparing people to people. I'm doing my thing. Um, you know, so Garden and Grail is kind of my idea. What me showing what grounds me, what brings me joy. Obviously, working in the studio makes me happy, but it is still work. So let's not kid around about that. It takes a lot of physical, mental work, a lot of research. It's not just laying around in a beach chair. It's not really relaxing. I mean, it's mentally relaxing because, like I've said in previous videos, I absolutely prefer getting into that Sijic Zen kind of mind headspace. And it just so happens that my studio does that for me. So I enjoy it on that level, but it's not 100% like fun. It's definitely not a passive pastime kind of thing. It's very active, and your mind goes interesting places because of it. Like the next subject I'm going to be doing on Tales from the Drafting Table is a painting, a tribute, a homage, if you will, to Aristotle and Plato. That's not a little thing. That's the foundation of all Western thought. It's not small. It's a very heavy subject. It's very all-encompassing and large subject, and it's got some controversy to it for sure because it's the foundation of the Western pathos. which as a creative I spend a lot of time studying. And I find it curious. It inspires me. I have a very different view on those two men, their contributions, the nature of their character, who they really were. That's pretty contrary to anybody I've heard anywhere. And I do spend a lot of time listening to audiobooks and transcripts of the remnants of their work that we still have available. And I spent a lot of time studying the people who studied them and who followed after them and who were at the academy. And I spent a lot of time studying esoteric information, if you will. Esoteric really just means hidden things. And I find it astounding how much of the esoteric really isn't hidden. It's more, and I don't even think that that's maybe the right word for it. It's the powers that be have everybody chasing a carrot on a stick. But if you're not easily captured by that carrot and an obsessive type that's got to go chase what the elites tell you to chase, then everything else aside from that carrot is esoteric, technically. Doesn't really mean it's hidden, but esoteric is supposed to mean hidden knowledge or hidden information or hidden gnosis. Much of what I've come across isn't really hidden. It's quite literally in plain sight. It's just that it's kind of that sleight of hand of the elite. They've got everybody focused on worrying about what their neighbors have, keeping pace with trends and worrying about things that have no value. And so while everybody's looking at the carrot, nobody's looking at the reality and nobody's looking at the facts. And reality and facts are esoteric. So that's kind of the way I've come to see that. And so my studio is very heavily driven by the mentalist approach to things. And, I am competitive. I do like the idea of doing a call to arts. There's not many that I come across, though, that answer my particular mental space. A lot of them are like, hey, come to our, summer festival dedicated to cars. Now, I do like cars, but I don't find it particularly mentally hallucinating. I'm one of those that I realize my country was founded during the Enlightenment, and that the objective of our country was to create enlightened citizens who are reaching for that higher mental space. And that's not really what's going on here. And so there's not a lot of call to entries for those higher cerebral kind of pursuits. And a lot of my artwork does center around that. And that's a tricky place because, that does get into things like the Golden Dawn and the Rosicrucians and the Masons. And, well, they keep their society secret for a reason. One, I think they think very low of the majority of the population, and so they don't think the majority of the population is capable of understanding or keeping pace with them, and so therefore they're not worthy. They also don't really like anybody who challenges their interpretations or their views of things, and not always in agreement with them about their interpretations of some of the esoteric sciences. I think some of it is literally propaganda. I sometimes wonder if they're not right, though. I mean, when you get into, the Hermetic principles, the average person really does get really challenged mentally by the 7 Hermetic laws. But to me, they're very much just natural laws. And with good observation, they shouldn't be fantastical or hard to grasp. But I think people are kind of trained to chase the carrot instead, and the carrot doesn't have anything to do with higher thinking. And so I guess and I can't decide if they intentionally educate the public to not be able to grasp the 7 Hermetic principles correctly, or if they've tried a bunch and the results are some of the madness you see, where you have gender dysphoria becoming a public, like a personal right, instead of what it actually is. And to me, I see that as a gross misinterpretation of the gender definition that you find in the Hermetic principles. It's absolutely nothing to do with sexuality, but most people can't differentiate between gender and sexuality. So one's always conflagrated with the other for the majority of people. Um, Not a lot that can be done about that. I'm in the school where I believe absolutely alchemy should be taught at the youngest age, because to me, alchemy is about um, sharpening your mind. It's about being the embodiment of what our founding fathers had in mind for us. So that's a lot of what the pursuit of my studio is. And in terms of getting closer to my vision, that's what this week was like for me. I got closer. I got more of my subjects out of the way. I got more of my projects moved forward to where they can be released. I have a second series coming out on Mondays. So I'll have two series going, Tales from the Drafting Table and Garden and Grail. And I'll get into why it's called Garden and Grail in the actual episode itself, which is premiering on the 20th on Monday. And I'm really excited about it because it's got some really cool features in it. Things that I've seen very few people approach or do. And I think people should take a look at that side of life and those kind of approaches. And maybe it's a gateway to see life differently than the program that everybody's raised under. See what it's like to live in the shoes of somebody who's living outside the box with intent, not by accident, not by malfunction, but with intent. And that's what I'm doing with this studio. And in those terms, I made a lot of strides this week towards those goals. And I'm really excited about this new series that's going to be coming out on Monday. Garden and Grail. Makes me want to make Monty Python jokes about Monty Python and the Holy Grail. That's an awesome movie right there. And in a weird kind of way, a little bit of an inspiration on Bunny V. Not really a direct one, but if you've seen that movie and you see who the big bad monster is at the end, then Bunny V will make a lot more sense. But she's also built on a lot of other tropes. I mean, oddly enough, in both Western and Asian culture, now I haven't looked deep into African culture on this particular subject, but the idea of the tricksy little rabbit is kind of a really old trope. But I can't find any evidence anywhere that indicates that rabbits themselves were ever directly connected to, say, like a Hermes or Toth or any of those characters. They have different animal icons. Typically, they're associated with birds, primates, those kind of things. That they're never. I can't find any evidence of them being associated with rabbits. Inanna is the only one that I've ever seen really, Aristotle, that they're associated with rabbits, but not trickster gods. So I don't know, but I mean, in a way, Inanna, Ishtar, Aristotle, they did have a trickster kind of nature to them, but they were females, and that's not the thing that they're mainly known for. So Bunny V, though, I really believe my schedule, my shorts for her will be coming out on Wednesday. I finally do have enough of it done. I wanted to do the musical score myself, and I got most of that done this week. So, well, I'm looking forward to next week, and I will catch you guys up on how next week turns out in the next Saga video, the next vlog. I hope everybody has a wonderful day wherever you are, and I hope all the really wonderful things that you dream about become manifest. I truly do. Okay, Speedy out. See you in the next video. Bye-bye, y'all.